I heard pop, 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 pop. All you hear is bang, 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 bang. And I literally just grabbed my daughter and I was like, oh my gosh, what is going on?
We were laying in bed and out of nowhere, there was just rapid, consistent echoing. Of course, we know it's fire now.
3 people, parents and a daughter are the shooter and ex-husband, now also
911, where's your emergency?
I am in the house now.
You have what?
That quiet, barely there whisper belongs to a 61-year-old man named Alan Russell. He is whispering because he has just been shot inside his own home, and he is still alive just long enough to dial for help. Before the dispatcher even sends an ambulance, she notes to her colleagues that there is a history of domestic violence at this address, which means this is not the first time someone has called for help from inside that house. It is just the last time. By the time the sun comes up on March 10, 2026, Alan is dead, his wife Michelle is dead, and their 38-year-old daughter Deanna is dead on the street 50 yards from the front door, with more than 20 bullets in her body, killed while she was running and screaming one single word over and over again. The man responsible for all 3 of those deaths is Vaughn Stewart, 37 years old, the father of Deanna's 3 children who were asleep inside that same house when it happened. Before this story is done, you are going to see exactly how a man gets from a screaming match at a convenience store to standing over his wife's body at 5 in the morning on a quiet New Jersey street, firing one last shot into her before walking back inside. Let's go back to the beginning and look at who these people actually were.
Your victim's going to be at number 8 Fairwood Drive. That's not secure as well, so just stay where you're at.
I heard pop, 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 pop.
terrifying moments witnessed by neighbors, the response captured on Broadcastify.
Vaughn Stewart, 37, was living in his mother's apartment on Jacoby Street in Maplewood, New Jersey. By his own court records, he had a documented history of chronic unemployment, meaning no steady job, financial stability, or anything really holding him together on that front. Neighbors at the building had gotten used to seeing Deanna and the kids come by to visit from time to time, and some of them had also gotten used to hearing arguments whenever that happened. Deanna Russell, who became Deanna Stewart after marrying Vaughn, was 38 years old and the daughter of Jamaican immigrants who had built something real in America. Her parents, Alan and Michelle Russell, had been living in Berkeley Township, Ocean County, New Jersey for over 10 years. Alan, who was 61, worked as a caseworker at the New Jersey Department of Child Protection and Permanency, the state agency that steps in to protect children when their home situation becomes dangerous. That detail is going to land differently later. Michelle was 60 years old and worked in the medical field. They were church-going people who played gospel music loud enough for the neighbors to hear, gardened, and quietly looked out for the people around them without being asked to. Their neighbor, John Casella, a firefighter, told reporters that the Russells were the most amazing people. When he got hurt on the job and could not work for a stretch, Alan and Michelle showed up at his door with backpacks and school supplies for his 3 kids without him ever having to ask. Alan texted him at the start of each school year just to make sure the family was doing okay. Vaughn and Deanna had 3 children together. An infant who was only a few months old at the time, and 2 others who were around 3 and 5 years old. Deanna and the kids had already been living with her parents at the Fairwood Drive house in Berkeley Township because she had filed for divorce from Vaughn back in April of 2024. That divorce filing was dismissed in January of 2025 when no further court steps were taken, but the dismissal did not mean she went back to him. The couple stayed separated. Deanna stayed at her parents' place, and she had also obtained a restraining order against Vaughn. On top of that, police had already been called to the Fairwood Drive address multiple times over the years for domestic violence incidents, so this was not some sudden change in Vaughn's behavior. Deanna had done everything the system tells women in her situation to do. She left, got legal protection, and moved her children somewhere safer, and none of that was enough. Before we get to March 10th, though, you need to understand one specific event from exactly 1 month earlier, because what happened that day was basically Vaughn announcing to anyone paying attention exactly what he planned to do. On the afternoon of February 11, 2026, Cranford police responded at around 3:20 to a quick-check convenience store on North Avenue just off the Garden State Parkway after someone reported a man and a woman fighting inside. When officers arrived and wrote up their official paperwork, what they documented was not a normal argument. Vaughn had punched Deanna in the head multiple times with a closed fist, struck her in the neck with a phone, and ripped a braid of hair from her head. And while all of that was happening, he told her, word for word, exactly what he planned to do next, according to the official police affidavit. He was going to, quote, murder her and her family, unquote. The Cranford police charged him with third-degree terroristic threats, harassment, and simple assault. He showed up in Union County Superior Court the very next day, February 12th, and the prosecutors didn't even ask the judge to keep him in custody while his case moved forward. He walked out free, with a plea conference set for April 9th, 2026. After the attack, Deanna gave a video statement to police at the scene and was taken to be checked out medically, where she refused treatment. 30 days after that conversation at the Quick Check, she was dead on a suburban street with over 20 bullets in her, having spent her last moments running and screaming for her life. Now, this level of violence did not come from nowhere. To understand who Vaughn Stewart really was before all of this, you have to go back to 2015. In August of 2015, while living in Maplewood in Essex County, Vaughn was charged with 8 separate criminal counts, including terroristic threats of death, aggravated assault with a knife, and 2 separate counts of endangering the welfare of a child through a sex act. These were serious charges that, if proven, could have sent him away for years. But in June of 2017, after the case went all the way to a full jury trial in Essex County Superior Court, Vaughn was acquitted on every single one of those 8 counts. The jury found him not guilty across the board. No victim names were ever released to the public, no details about what actually happened were made available, and because he was acquitted, the case closed without consequences and without any media follow-up. Then, in March of 2024, around the same time Deanna was filing for divorce, Vaughn picked up an obstruction charge in Berkeley Township, the same town where her parents lived. That one went nowhere meaningful either. By November of 2024, he pleaded down to disturbing the peace, a much lesser charge, and walked away after paying a $333 fine. So by the time Vaughn was standing in that Quick Check in February of 2026, telling Deanna he was going to murder her and her family, the picture was already coming together. This was not a man who had lived a clean life and suddenly snapped. This was somebody who had faced serious violent charges, walked away from the legal system with no real consequences multiple times, and was now making specific, documented promises about what he intended to do. Neighbors at his mother's building in Maplewood had been watching the tension between them build for months. People in the building had heard loud arguments tied to his situation with Deanna and the children in the time leading up to the murders, and one neighbor remembered police coming to take a man
away from the building at some point the year before. Nobody in that building had any reason to know it would end the way it did, but the warning signs had been sitting there in plain view for anyone paying close enough attention. Alan had spent his whole working life dedicated to protecting children and families in crisis. He was a caseworker at New Jersey's Division of Child Protection and Permanency, and when Deanna moved back in with her parents, she was bringing her children into the home of a man whose literal job was shielding kids from dangerous situations. Now let's get into the morning of March 10th itself, because this is where everything comes together. Berkeley Township Police received reports of shots fired at the Fairwood Drive address at around 5 in the morning. Most of the neighborhood was still asleep or just starting to wake up, and the sound of gunshots in a quiet suburban street like that is not something people are prepared for. When the officers arrived at Fairwood Drive, they observed a man walking into the home. That man turned out to be Vaughn Stewart. Within seconds of him going inside, they heard more gunfire from inside the residence, and because of the active shooter situation, they called in the Ocean County Regional SWAT team to make entry. When SWAT cleared the home, they found Alan and Michelle Russell dead from gunshot wounds inside. The 3 children were found inside the house, physically unharmed. As officers continued clearing the residence, they found Vaughn suffering from a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head and had him transported to Community Medical Center in Toms River, where he was later pronounced dead. When they expanded the search to the area outside the house, they found Deanna about 50 yards down Fairwood Drive, dead on the side of the road from multiple gunshot wounds, surrounded by shell casings. The exact sequence of what happened between the moment Vaughn entered that house and the moment officers found him with a self-inflicted wound was pieced together by investigators using the physical evidence at the scene, shell casing locations, officer observations in real time, and most importantly, a Ring security camera belonging to a neighbor named Dennis Newcomb who lived across the street. The order of events, as confirmed by the Ocean County Prosecutor's Office, went like this. Vaughn forced his way in and shot Alan and Michelle Russell inside the home. Deanna was in the house when it happened and managed to get out, running through the front door and onto the street. Vaughn followed her out. Dennis Newcomb's Ring camera caught what came next in the dark of those early morning hours. The word Deanna was screaming as she ran, captured clearly on the audio, was "murderer, murderer." She already knew what had happened to her parents inside that house before she even made it to the street. According to reporting on the Ring footage, more than 20 shots were fired during the chase. Deanna went down, and Vaughn walked to where she was on the ground, stood directly over her, and fired one final shot. Then he turned around, walked back into the house, and shot himself in the head.
Our top story, 4 people, including a suspect, are dead after an early morning in Berkeley Township. Let's get things right over to News 12 New Jersey's Jim Murdoch. He's been at the scene all day and joins us now with the latest this evening. Jim?
Eric, just a lot of new information coming on about this triple homicide here, and bear with me as a lot of this information I am now seeing for the first time. We now have the names of the victims confirmed. Our 61-year-old Alan Russell, his wife, 60-year-old Michelle Russell, and their daughter, 38-year-old Deanna Stewart of Berkeley Township. The shooter has been identified as 37-year-old Vaughn Stewart of Maplewood. According to police, Vaughn entered the home and shot Mr. and Mrs. Russell. Vaughn then chased Deanna down the street, fired multiple shots, and her about 50 yards away from the home. Now, she also lived here with her parents and 3 minor children. Vaughn and Deanna were the parents of those 3 children. They had been living separately. This all happened just after 5 a.m. as most neighbors were still sleeping or just waking up. The shooting happening here along Fairwood Drive. At least 8 shots in all were fired, some of them captured on Ring video.
Your victim's going to be at number 8 Fairwood Drive. That's not secure as well, so just stay where you're at.
I heard pop, 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 pop.
Terrifying moments witnessed by neighbors, the response captured on Broadcastify.
You're getting medics from Lakehurst.
Within seconds, 3 lives gone, the then ending his own.
All you hear is bang, 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 bang. And I literally just grabbed my daughter and I was like, oh my gosh, what is going on?
We were laying in bed and out of nowhere, there was just rapid, consistent echoing. Of course, we know it's fire now.
Stunned neighbors trying to make sense of the early morning tragedy. Neighbors like Ashley, who moved here for the quiet. Your first instinct was to
just put my body over my daughter and hold her because I didn't know where the shots were coming from. They were so loud.
The Ocean County Prosecutor's Office confirmed 3 victims were fatally shot in the at a local hospital of self-inflicted injuries. The scene remained secured throughout the day, with police telling people there were no threats to the public.
I didn't know where it was coming from, if it was going to stop. My whole body just was shaking.
And again, new information coming in. According to police, they were just arriving on the scene shortly after Vaughn and Deanna, again, about 50 yards away from the home. And as he was making his way back inside the home, that's when police heard an additional shot outside. That is the moment police say that Vaughn took his own life. Again, a very tragic situation here in the Bayville section of Berkeley Township. 3 people, parents and a daughter, are The shooter, an ex-husband, now also dead. We're live in Ocean County. Jim Murdoch, News 12, New Jersey.
Dennis Newcomb chose not to release that footage to the public out of respect for the family, but he described everything he saw on it to reporters, and media outlets that were given access to the recording confirmed every detail. He told reporters that the Russells had been nice people, very nice people, and you could hear in the way he talked about it that watching that footage shook him deeply. Now let's go back to Alan's 911 call, because it is one of the most important pieces of evidence in confirming the timeline of what happened inside the house before Deanna got out.
911, where's your emergency?
I am shot. I am shot. In the house, man.
You have
Come
what?
quick, send an ambulance, please.
On this desperate call to 911, Alan Russell pleads for help after getting shot, with screams heard in the background.
Hello?
One day after the triple suicide rocked this Berkeley Township neighborhood, part of Fairwood Drive remained taped off, an active crime scene investigation still underway.
Alan was the best of men. I know my entire office is at a huge loss of missing him.
Quinn Gunderson worked with Alan Russell at the State Department of Children and Families. He was shot and killed early Tuesday morning, along with his wife Michelle and their daughter Deanna Stewart. Prosecutors say Deanna's estranged husband, Vaughn Stewart, chased her down the street, fired multiple, then ultimately used the to take his own life. Police found the couple's 3 young children inside the house unharmed. Their parents and grandparents, though, suddenly gone.
I'm so sad for them, but thanks God, nothing happened to them.
The kids are now in the care of the same child welfare agency where Alan Russell was a caseworker. Quinn Gunderson set up this online fundraiser to help cover funeral expenses for Alan, his wife and daughter, and to support the children.
We will be there for them.
The police came here like last year maybe, and they took a man.
According to court records, Vaughn Stewart was arrested just last month for making a threat in a domestic violence case out of Union County. Deanna and the 3 children were living with her parents prior to the murders. In a statement, DCF described Alan Russell as a dedicated public servant who positively affected the lives and trajectories of families in his community.
He cared about children. He cared about the parents that were struggling. He believed that people can change and be better for themselves and for their families.
Records show police responded to the house multiple times over the past few years for domestic violence incidents. A law enforcement source tells me Deanna Stewart had also taken out a restraining order against the father of their 3 children. In Berkeley Township, I'm Ted Greenberg, NBC 10 News.
Alan was still alive when he made that call, and he was whispering because he could not risk being heard. Screams are audible in the background throughout the call. When the dispatcher noted to colleagues that this address had a known history of domestic violence, she was drawing on a record of prior police responses at that same house going back years. At least 3 neighbors also called 911 that morning to report the sounds of shooting, with one of them saying they heard up to 9 shots fired.
I heard around probably 4:45, some like about 6, like bang, 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 bang. But then at around 5:04 is when I really heard bang, 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 like it was gonna come through to my house, and I didn't know where it was coming from.
In fact, Ashley's doorbell camera recorded the sound of the gunfire, the loudest.
It's unbelievable. I pray for the families and the victims involved.
Police spent all afternoon at the home on Fairwood Drive, where the Ocean County Prosecutor's Office says the suspect fatally shot 3 people before turning the gun on himself, taking his own life. Our law enforcement sources tell us this was a couple going through a divorce or recently divorced, that the husband came to his in-laws' home, them and his ex-wife, again turning the gun on himself. He was rushed to Community Medical Center in Toms River, where hours later he was pronounced dead. We are hearing that the couple's children are in police protection.
We don't really know the people over there, but it's so sad to hear, you know, that it's very tragic.
It's a sad situation because this is not a town that you expect any of this to happen.
And late this afternoon, the Ocean County Prosecutor's Office released the names of those involved. The homeowners were 61-year-old Alan Russell and his wife, 60-year-old Michelle Russell, and their daughter, 38-year-old Deanna Stewart, and the suspect, her ex-husband, Vaughn Stewart, 37 years old, of Maplewood, New Jersey. So now there are 3 children who must live their lives without the people who love them the most. In the Bayville section of Berkeley Township, Tony Yates, Channel 6, Action News.
Now, there was no arrest and there was no trial since Vaughn Stewart died at the scene from the self-inflicted gunshot wound he gave himself after killing Deanna. He was pronounced dead at Community Medical Center in Toms River. Under the law, you cannot charge or try a deceased person, which means the case was formally closed as a murder-suicide by the Ocean County Prosecutor's Office without any criminal proceedings taking place. Prosecutor Bradley Billheimer confirmed the complete sequence of events in an official press release and commended the work of the agencies that investigated it, which included the Ocean County Prosecutor's Office Major Crime Unit, the Berkeley Township Police Department, the Ocean County Regional SWAT Team, and the Ocean County Sheriff's Office Crime Scene Investigation Unit. The Union County charges that had been filed with Vaughn in February, the terroristic threats and the assault from the Quick Check incident, those were automatically voided by his death. The plea conference scheduled for April 9th of 2026 never happened. Alan's colleague, Quinn Gunderson, who organized the GoFundMe for the family's funerals afterwards, told reporters that the GoFundMe Quinn put together described the family as people whose love for their children and grandchildren was endless and whose faith ran through everything they did. The GoFundMe raised over $20,000 for the family's funerals and the care of the 3 children. A DCPP co-worker said Alan genuinely believed people could turn their lives around and do better for their families, and that he cared deeply about the parents he worked with who were struggling. He poured himself into protecting other people's children from dangerous situations, and then the most dangerous situation imaginable came straight to his front door. After Alan and Michelle were killed, those 3 grandchildren, the same kids he used to walk around the neighborhood with every morning, were placed into the care of the very agency he had worked for. That is almost too painful to sit with. What do you think about this case? Let me know what you think about the shooting in the comments section. Also, click on one of the cards on your screen to see more videos like this. See you in the next one.